Stakeholders say King's House commitment to seek changes to a controversial badge worn by the Governor General should just be the beginning of a process of reform in Jamaica. The issue was discussed on TVJ's All Angles Wednesday night. Giovanni Dennis has that story.
This badge, representing the Order of St. Michael and St. George, depicts a white man, supposedly the Archangel St. Michael, standing on the neck of a black man, supposedly the devil. Its resemblance to the George Floyd killing has sparked controversy, with this online petition calling for its abolition. A statement from King's House on Wednesday says the Governor General acknowledges the concerns being expressed and that the necessary requests will be made for a revision of the image. But speaking Wednesday on All Angles, Chair of the Center for Reparations Research, Professor Vereen Shepherd, says the statement is just a first step.
My reaction to this statement was like, oh, okay, blah, really. And let's see where we go from here. And it's not only these emblems, though, you know. We have to have, I agree with you, we have to have a deeper conversation because there are churches in Jamaica, there are communities in Jamaica which every day celebrate Europeans and planters and people who are enslavers.
Human rights advocate Glenroy Murray says Jamaica's attitude to language is also a relic of colonial times.
Even though sometimes courtrooms have patois spoken or Jamaican language spoken in them, that's not a standard and that's not mandated. So it's things like that that have governed how we relate. And the relationship between government and people is still very colonial. Very little has changed in that regard. Attorney
General Marlene Malahoo Fort and opposition spokesperson on justice Donna Scott Motley agree it's time for the Queen to be removed as Jamaica's head of state. This, they said, needs to happen early in the next electoral term.
Let me speak for myself. I do have some discomfort in 2020 having Her Majesty the Queen of England as the Queen of Jamaica. It doesn't sit very comfortably.
And you yourself are Queen's Counsel.
I am. But you see, we're a reflection of the system that we're a part of. But fundamentally for me, it's about building out a governance system that is fair, that is just, and that reflects the will of the people, and take out the worst aspects of the symbolism. Because the truth is there's a lot of pain and hurt that we've carried forward in the constitutional monarchy.
I would unhesitatingly say yes.
So we're agreed.
Unhesitatingly, that it has to be a priority. And this is what the Attorney General says.
And this is the removal of the Queen.
The removal of the Queen to start. Because I think that it will give people a different sense of who they are, a different sense of being.
Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
Now, in the meantime, the 300 Jamaican ship workers aboard Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas and the Disney Wonder successfully disembarked at the Port Royal Pier today. Minister without portfolio in the National Security Ministry, Matthew Samuda, says the Jamaicans have been tested for COVID-19. They have been moved to state quarantine where they will await the results. Now, those who test negative will be required to quarantine at home for the next 14 days.
They go through a health screening first, which checks temperature and confirms that their name is indeed on the manifest and in the JAM COVID system. They then go through 2 other health checks, which ends in them being sampled so that sample can be sent for COVID testing. After that, they go through the usual immigration and customs process. At the last step, they're then one final health check. They're allowed to board the buses that carry them up to government quarantine. In government quarantine, they wait until they get their results. Once they're negative, they're allowed to complete their 14-day quarantine period at home.
And Mr. Samuda is urging the Jamaican ship workers to abide by the regulations for them to remain at home during the quarantine period.
We welcome our Jamaican ship workers home, and we ask them to adhere to the regulations so that they keep themselves healthy and keep their families and the rest of Jamaica healthy.
Now, we visited several rural parishes where the impact of the Saharan dust was being felt. Shamela Pullen has that story.
As far as the east is from the west, The Saharan dust has been making its way across the country, from St. Elizabeth, St. Mary, Portland, St. Thomas, St. Anne, and St. James. This year's event is being talked about by many Jamaicans. Although the dust crosses the Caribbean from the Sahara Desert each year, some persons say they are noticing it for the first time.
But the fog would have come like all one tornado or something the back of here. I not like it was a spread.
This morning when I was in Junction, shining off the car, I see some dust, some black dust on the car. The more you shine off the car, the dust coming out. And you can see the atmosphere white.
If you look in the air, you can see the pollution. You know? The pollution over the sea, the pollution up in the hills. You can see it. And the sky by itself tells us that something critical is going on.
This not going to kill we? How we are going to manage with it? This will kill we, man. Too much dust.
On Monday, local experts as well as the Ministry of Health warned about the health implications from the dust. It's day 2 and already Jamaicans are feeling the effects.
My nose is burning and it's burning my skin. I notice I feel the skin burning. So I don't know what is happening.
As I can see all my eye right now. You see me? My girlfriend come check me from morning and she tell me say all her nose I hurt her. You see me? Me have problem with my eye them right now. And the dust thing.
A couple of hours ago before I really put on the mask, I start feel a pain in my stomach and I know I never used to feel that. And I don't know if it's the reality about the whole thing, but I feel a pain in my stomach.
And they're not taking any chances. Some say the dust has already forced them to seek medical attention. Others say they're doing everything to stay inside, as well as taking the other precautionary measures.
Now if you stay in, I have my little kerchief I said we have to cover up and sitting. But I have no glass in my eye, you see me? So as far as I just stay out, I hope my elements.
We have to just look and see what's going on. The scientists them have to check out and see what's going on with this dust.
I would advise each and every one of us, the citizens of Jamaica, to take this thing very serious, because Corona is not out of the wood and it's keep going on, rising every day. And with this now compounding your breathing problem with this dust, well, this is very serious now. And I hope that the government will move very swiftly to see what they can do to help cushion people with underlying problem, breathing problem.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
The holder of a multi-million-dollar contract is this evening crying foul after an arrangement it had with the government was terminated. As you hear in this report from Dwayne Anderson, the matter has attracted the attention of the Greg Christie-led Integrity Commission, which has launched a probe as there are claims of nepotism.
Controversy is brewing in the health sector over the handling of a multi-million-dollar contract to provide food to the Kingston Public Hospital. The saga kicked off when a letter dated June 2 was sent from Dwayne Bailey, the Senior Director at the Southeast Regional Health Authority, SARA. The letter told Elegant Weddings Event Planning and Catering that SARA would not extend its contract with the company. 2 days later, another letter was sent by the SARA official that further explained that they had also chosen a new supplier for food to the KPH. But Elegant Weddings Event Planning and Catering cried foul and sent a series of letters to the Integrity Commission, 2 of which we obtained. In one letter, the food providers explained they held the $100 million contract since January 2018, but now they feel politics is at play and they are being, quote, squeezed out, end quote, for another company with big political connections. A suggestion is that the new contract may be 10 times the initial contract and could run to well over $1 billion. We contacted the leadership of Elegant Weddings. We were told that the company will not be commenting at this time. As for the Integrity Commission, it is their policy not to publicly comment on these matters, but a document obtained by TVJ News indicated that an investigation has started into the case. The Integrity Commission is led by former Contractor General Greg Christie, who was also listed as a recipient in one of the letters we obtained. It is now the Integrity Commission's job to find out if the correct procurement processes were followed when the new company was given the contract to provide food to KPH, especially after claims that a cabinet member may have had a bearing in the deal. The Public Procurement Act of 2015, Section 42(1)(a) and (b) outlines that bids are to be excluded if the competing company has an unfair advantage or is in breach of the Corruption Prevention Act. The Corruption Prevention Act says at Section 14(1)(a) and (b) that a public official has acted corruptly if he tries to get favor or benefit for himself or someone else in the performance of his public functions. In the meantime, when I contacted the chairman of the Southeast Regional Health Authority that has responsibility for the KPH, Wentworth Charles, he indicated he would not comment on the matter as yet because he has not had a chance to investigate the complaints, but he promised he would make a public statement in the coming days. A copy of a document sourced by TVJ News indicate that food for doctors and patients over a 3-year period at the hospital reached as much as $800 million. Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
Welcome back to Primetime News. The man who was imprisoned for 50 years without going to court has been freed. George Williams was released after the Director of Public Prosecutions decided he was unfit to plead and that there was no one to give evidence against him.
After 50 years in prison without a trial and facing the court for the first time in less than 2 weeks, George Williams walked from the Spanish Town courthouse a free man today. The historic moment was captured by many ordinary Jamaicans who waited eagerly to put a face to the name. Sadly enough, many will remember him with the black eye he had after he was beaten a week ago by a fellow inmate in the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center in Spanish Town. Despite that, his family was all too happy to start the process of catching up on the many decades they've missed out with him.
We're just going to have fun. First, we're going to take him to the church, let him know the do's and the don'ts. We're just going to try and make up life so quickly with him. Make him live back his childhood days, his manhood days, We're just going to be there for him. We're going to love him. We're going to treat him right. We're just going to do the best for the little life that he has left out here with us.
Well, I'm looking forward for the next the period of years left because he is the first. He will be the oldest of 8 now. The oldest one has died. So he'll be the oldest of 8.
This is the house in Ivy District in St. Catherine where Mr. Williams will settle after leaving prison. But after leaving the courthouse today, the family journeyed to Linstead for some catching up with people who were never born when Mr. Williams went to prison. His niece is one of those persons. Her husband is meeting Mr. Williams for the very first time.
Uncle George, this is my husband, Nigel Green. Yes. So you know that from now until all of us going to take care of you.
A celebration was planned for Mr. Williams. Now, this is the Zephyrton Main Road heading to Ewerton. And while here at the Street Vibes pub is not where George will be spending the rest of his years, but this is where he'll be having his first home-cooked meal now that he's out. Mr. Williams suffers from schizophrenia and that he needed to be on medication. At times he looked lost, but at other times he asked about some of the changes that have taken place while he was locked away. We tried to have a word with Mr. Williams. How do you feel now that you are a free man? How do you feel, George?
I'm feeling a different feeling. Feel free, man. Feel free, Feel free of myself. In prison so much years and get me freedom.
How you want to spend the rest of your life?
Eat some good food and eat. I will say quite pleasant.
In court, the Director of Public Prosecutions decided to drop all charges against Mr. Williams, who was accused of murder, wounding with intent, and malicious destruction of property. The DPP says there was no need to pursue the matter because she checked and found no witnesses alive. That and the fact that after seeing him over 20 times, doctors say he was unfit to plead.
In light of the fact that he found that he was unfit to plead, then it means that he could not be what we call arraigned. We couldn't read the indictment to him and ask him to plead individually to the different counts. It would be fair to him. So in the circumstances, I use the other option that I can use under the Constitution, which is to enter a nolle prosequi, which effectively discontinues the proceedings.
Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
The organizer of a Gofundme page, which was established to assist the family of the policeman killed in the June 12 operation in Horizon Park, St. Catherine, has accepted that protocols were not followed in setting up the account. Anthony Lugg reports.
If that was not already a task for relatives and friends, days after, news emerged that a GoFundMe account had been set up to assist the grieving families. The parents of Constable Ricardo Hilton, who was killed during the operation, said they did not sanction the fundraiser. Speaking on Radio Jamaica's call-in program hotline, chairman of the GoFundMe account, Dr. Rupert Francis, apologized for not contacting the family prior to establishing the account. He said contact has since been made and an agreement has been reached for a scholarship account to be established in the name of Constable Hilton.
I've spoken to 2 families and I've gotten a response. I tried to call the third family, but the response was they're in agreement with the GoFundMe, but the third family, the Hilton family, I spoke to them and said they'd rather have a scholarship fund in the name of Ricardo Hilton. And we agreed. We said that was the whole idea. We want to see a permanent fund set up so that policemen and women who fall into this category or whatever category, I think, for building morale when something like this happens.
It's understood that Constable Hilton's image was removed from the GoFundMe account.
Having spoken to the family and the mother to be specific, and she said that she would like to see this. Now, we're in a quandary as to what to do because we are saying, my personal view is that, I would like to continue to do this for the benefit of the police. The police need this type of support now. The military has it, but the police does not have it.
Yeah, so you can do it, but don't use Constable Hilton's image. That's what the mother is saying. She wants a scholarship fund. Did she say she would like you to administer the scholarship fund or to set it up?
No. We don't want to have anything to do with it. We would like to find someone or an institution that the money will go to, that is responsible, that the money will go to, that they and the Jamaica Constabulary Force can find a way of working with the scholarship fund.
Meanwhile, Dr. Francis says the money raised via the GoFundMe account will be given to the family of slain cop Corporal Dane Biggs and the other 2 officers injured in the Horizon Park attack.
Can I ask you, do you know at the moment how much money is there in the GoFundMe since you've set it up?
Yes, so far it is $756 right now.
And since the Hilton family say they want nothing to do with it, do you then intend to turn it over to the Biggs family? All of this to the Biggs family, or how do you think it will go?
Give it to it was for the injured as well, so the Clooney family, because he was seriously injured, and we don't know when he's going to come back.
Oh, okay. And Richards as well, the other constable. Yes, 2 other constables.
But we are hoping that after this controversy, which was unintentional, and they know that now, that we would be able to continue and see if we can get this seed planted so that we can now see if we can help the policemen in the future.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.